Hello, everyone, and welcome to whatever we call this series of videos. Andrew and Kelly, the Eisen siblings extraordinaire, talk about our top three movies or TV shows or something or other that we saw in 2024. We're kind of fast and loose with this. Three
Not
from
not
each.
not too fast though. It'll
No,
be an
this will
hour.
probably be an hour because we are very verbose. So start us off. Get what was but one of your most impactful things you watched in 2024.
We'll start with the zone of interest, baby. Did you see it?
Is it the
Where'd you go?
it's the one you keep naming and I keep forgetting. Is it the one where the people live next to the concentration camp? That one? Yeah, okay. Yes.
So,
For some
it
reason
truly.
I can never that title just does not stick in my head.
So here's the thing. It is a strange
And if they
title.
called it Nazi Neighbors, I think that would have stuck in my head better, but
Oh my
Well,
God.
it sounds that sounds like a poor like someone was really excited. He's like, I've got the greatest idea for a Comedy Central sitcom. It's
John
gonna
Ritter needs to be in that
and
and
someone's
like
like,
Tom
oh
Hanks.
no.
No, no.
Oh no, no, no.
And so here's the thing, and maybe I haven't done enough research. I did look. I'm about to hiccup. Okay, there it was. Second one.
Because
Um,
I think they tried that once. I can't remember if it was an actual attempt or if it was like a joke on a skit comedy show. They had a
Nazi
show was
neighbors.
like That's My Adolf or something like that. I
Holy,
don't remember if
I
they
think
actually
that had to
tried
be a
that or that
skit.
was a joke.
That's got to be a skit.
I hope
Got
so.
to be a skit. Um, so I am unsure if zone of interest is a technical term of some sort, or if it means anything, or if like it truly is like a title for something, like if there was something called the zone of interest in Nazi Germany. I do not know. I had looked into it at the
Like
time.
Broken Arrow, when we lose nuclear
Or-
warheads enough that
right,
we have a name for that.
correct. So like I do not know. I looked into it at the time of watching it because it is such a strange and random name, in my opinion, and one that it took me a long time to remember. Even after I watched the movie, um, I was like, what was that called again? What was that called again? It is just strange. Um, so maybe it means something that I'm missing. Okay, maybe it's also a German film, so maybe it was translated into something
Hmm.
that maybe it does mean something and we translated it a little strange. Who knows? Who knows? It don't matter. Um, it's fantastic. It is absolutely brilliant in every way. And one of the best movies I've seen, not just this past year in 2024, um, but in many years. And it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And I really enjoy to partake of World War II. Um, did you? It wasn't you. It was so I was having a conversation. This is poignant. It also really ties into how we started this about how it's not going to be fast. So I
Can you turn off that light behind you? Because now that you've moved, yeah, that one between the
Do
beds,
you want me to just stay
or sit in front
here?
of it. Yeah,
That's fine.
that's the only light source. Because that's glaring something fierce when you move over to your right. That's fine.
If
Now
I
you've got a
continue.
nice halo. You're nice and backlit.
So here's the thing, brother. I think about this. I really enjoy, please go with me on this. Um, I like to partake of World War II um art.
Mm.
As in, I like to watch those movies. I like to watch I like to see what the stories are. Like, how are other people interpreting it? Like, I've seen a lot of movies about that time in history. Some good, some bad, some a little, three gems. Um, some a lot more historically accurate than others. And then of course I see some documentaries and you read some books. I've read a lot of books and um I find it's such an interesting time. And I wonder sometimes if the people who lived it, how would they feel about the fact that we have made so much entertainment out of and I sometimes struggle with like how much I really like to consume that kind of content and not like it in like a six or people, but like it's a very like it's kind like it's kind of I don't know, it's a weird thing for me because I think about it like historically we make films and we make a lot of just content in general, whether it be a film or whether it be music or whether it be literature or just art that revolves around history. Some pieces and parts of history stand out more than others. That's one that kind of, you know, look at me. I find right now kind of stands out more than others. But I remember 9/11. And I remember the first few movies that came out post 9/11 regarding 9/11 and thinking how distasteful and yes.
Mhm.
And it made me think the other day when I was like going through my list and thinking about this and I was like I wonder what was the first movie and I don't know and I did not look into it because what are you gonna do, but like what was the first movie about World War II? How close to it was it, and were those people like, dude, that's too soon, that's like it's just a weird thing to think like that. It's just a weird sort of like that's like when is it okay to start making that stuff, that content for people to learn and absorb.
Well, for me, I think it depends on the motive, right? If you're just trying to make a bit of fun, popcorny entertainment to make some money for yourself, um, then maybe not when people are still dying,
Yeah, no, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. However, if you're making a film or a song or a play or whatever, um, that is meant to inform or even communicate an opinion or a point of view, um, then I think generally it's fine. It's probably still, at least from an ethical standpoint, if the event in question is still happening and hurting people. But if you're just trying to make a buck, maybe wait until people aren't dying. I mean, it's
Yeah,
still going to be kind of gross, but
right,
I don't
right.
know.
No, that does make sense. That does make sense. But no, it was just something that like had struck me recently.
Mhm.
Zone of interest, the thing that I find fantastic about it, and the thing that I find it different from anything else that I've seen surrounding this is there are you don't see there's no violence in this film. There's
Depicted on
no,
screen, you mean?
huh?
Like depicted on screen.
Correct, correct. I'm sorry.
It's
Yes.
all sound design, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, the sound design of this movie. But the thing it's in on its face, this is a boring ass movie about a family. Like, take the outside world. This is just a family who moves into a home and tries to make like a man who has a very important job, has meetings about construction projects. You get to go into these meetings about,
Wait, does he work in the camp next door?
oh, but he
He
does.
does. Okay. Because I was wondering, did they just like get a really so they moved into that house, like the camp didn't pop up next to them.
No,
They
they
just
moved in it. He's like the commandante, and he like gets on his horse and like rides in. Like they open the gates and he'll like ride in, and they close the gates behind him.
that's
And
cat.
he has meetings. Like he truly had like with basically urban planning of like, hey, we have new people-size ovens that are much more, much better for the environment. And here, like, and it's like banal, like they creators of this movie, the directors and
Mm.
the director, I'm sure there's this one, but like, well, maybe there wasn't, but like it's passed off as this the most mundane. And like the wife,
Banality of evil.
it is. It's or the banality of this is my job. This is what I've been asked to do, and you don't think past your duty. You're not thinking about humans as humans. You're not thinking about like how disassociated you kind of have to be to do what you can do to humans, no matter how much you disagree with the fact that we don't believe in the New Testament. And I was like, really? That's not much of a big deal. Um, sorry. And then the wife talks about her gardening plans because the wall is kind of an eyesore. So she's like, I'm gonna put up some bougainvillea, and that gray brick yard is just kind of ugly. So, put up some vines. It'll be great. And it's just, but really, like at honest, it's boring as sin, and it's just here he is going to work. Here she is gardening. Here they are at the table, not really having an interesting conversation, just doing what they do, going to bed, walking around this house, and it's shot in a house like that. Like it's shot on like
But
unbelievable.
it's 2 hours that makes the audience go, how can you when?
Yes, yes, and but the sound, there are gunshots constantly in the background.
Mhm.
Like it is the sound design that you, it's faint and it's there. You are always so aware because there's smoke in the air. There's sometimes ash flitted, every now and then, like in a scene, you're like, oh God, they're not drawing your attention to it. They're just like, this is happening. And you can hear it's the most unbelievably fascinating. And the movie ends, and I'm not going to spoil anything because it is what it is. We kind of know. So I'm not, sorry if I'm spoiling history. Um, the movie ends in an interesting way. Um, it does a jump to the future of like different Holocaust museums. And to be fair, whenever Jeremy and I travel, if there is a Holocaust museum where we travel, we will go.
Mhm.
One of the best ones we've gone to is actually in Miami. Miami has an incredible Holocaust museum, believe it or not. Wouldn't have thought there was one there. But again, when he and I have the luxury of finding a time to travel together, very rare, we will see if there's a Holocaust museum and we will go. Um, at the end of this movie, it jumps to the future and it shows museum workers, the custodians at a Holocaust museum. I don't know which one. Probably not any here or any I've been to because I have
Probably
not been
not the
across.
Miami one.
Yes. Well, I can guarantee it's one across the pond, so I've obviously
Mhm.
not been to it. Um, and it shows custodians like mopping the floors and cleaning the glass and just going about their jobs, like in the cleaning the glass of like piles and piles of shoes that were gathered and like mopping the floors next to displays of like tragedy and stuff, and just how like we still kind like that there's still, and granted, again, they're just doing their jobs, but we are still immune to it. It's just a picture. Like we're no longer that we
Well, hopefully the movie portrays that more. Um, the protagonists of the movie are like these workers who are just numb to everything they see in their museum, and not the workers who work in the museum are just like these people from the right. Okay.
yeah, but it's the sad, yeah, that's kind of the thing of like, yeah, yes, you said it better than I could have, but no, they're not saying that.
Okay, good.
They're get on your high horse and ride into town. No.
Like, what do you want me to do? Go. The
Yeah,
Holocaust
it
is
happened.
over.
It's this, but it is kind of sad. But there is that part of like we have to wake up. I think is the thing of like just let's not
Well, the
let,
protagonists of the film are like they're 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 Nazis, right? Like they're
yeah.
yeah,
And
okay.
they're
So
not
so
even
they're like they know what's going on over there and they're fine with it.
yes. But it's
It's not like what
yes.
can I don't like it, but what can I do? No, it's like
No, it's not. It's like yeah. So the people who we follow are 100% Nazis,
right, okay.
like 100%. And and you don't even dislike them. They're just people. Do you know, you hate what they're doing, but it's like they're not, they're just people.
Hmm.
It's not like he comes home and like beats the hell out of his wife and like, you know, throws his kids out windows or something like that. He's just it, but it definitely the woman, the wife, she's kind of the main character. He goes off to work all day and she's basically the one you follow. But yeah, like I said, it's just it literally is, it could be a British drama of people arranging matchsticks, but it just happens to be
Right.
uh
Concentration camp.
in a concentration camp. And yeah, there's nothing like it, and there's truly nothing like it that I've seen, and it sticks with you. I only saw it that once, and it's one of those movies though that like I would love to see it again, but I just don't know if I am able. Because but like I don't think I blinked when I saw it. Like it was like when I saw Amadeus, I remember sitting at like the front of the couch, and just like transfixed. What, and like this was another one of
Very
those just like
different reasons. So
different reasons.
is this film up for like best
It was
picture?
already. This was
Oh, was it
I
the year before you just saw it last year? Okay.
yeah. And it was, and I don't think I think it won best foreign film, I believe. Uh, I really do believe either that or Anatomy of a Fall did. Those were the woman in Anatomy of a Fall was actually the same woman who was in this. Like she was the John C. Riley of last year's Oscars. So yeah. But anyway, Zone of Interest is my first one because whew, beautiful. I recommend it to everybody. It's a sit, and it's an uncomfortable sit, but I think you need to sit with that uncomfortability because I don't know, I just think it's imperative.
Okay. All right. My first most impactful thing I saw last year was Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai. So they made a Gremlins
They do.
cartoon show. Yeah. Oh, have you seen it?
Oh, yes. We just put it on our to watch list.
So you haven't watched it yet, but it's on your watch list.
Go, no, talk about it. I can't wait. Go.
Okay. So so there are currently only two Gremlins movies, and I like them both in different ways to different degrees. I am, of course, a child of the 80s, so you kind of can't help but not like the Gremlins. And the damn Gremlins rag is a banger. The dun 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 dun, right? Um,
Yes.
when they announced last year, whenever they did that they were making an animated television show for Gremlins, I was like, okay. And I read the log line, and it takes place in like 1920s America, and it follows the guy who sold Mr. Peltzer the Mogwai from the knickknack shop in Chinatown. Mr. Wing, I think his name was, the old man, right? Uh, this takes place in the 1920s and is 10-year-old Sam Wing, I think his name is. So that old man who sold him the Mogwai, this is his adventures as a child with the Gremlins. I'm like, okay, there's a fine premise. But what really delighted me about the show is a twofold. Number one, the show is squarely aimed at an audience much younger than myself.
Uh,
And yet, the show does not shy away from these are dangerous little monsters that hurt people and get some of them killed. Like
oh,
you remember the mean crotchety old lady in the first movie who has that chair that electric chair that goes up the stairs and the
yes,
gremlin
yes.
fits with the wiring and it flings her up the stairs out the window and across the lawn and it's hilarious and then you think about it, it's like, oh, she's dead. This is an old infirm woman who got chucked out of a second floor window. She's
You don't
definitely
think
dead.
about as a kid. I don't think that that was like you just laugh.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But the thing about the Gremlins is they are dangerous. Like Billy Peltzer, he gets scratched and he bleeds. A couple people die. Um, And also the gremlins themselves are really disgusting and they get killed in ways like I think we last movie mandates we were talking about because the mom who plays the lady who plays the mom and
Yes.
what was in
Yes.
one of the movies we just watched. And although this what we're recording now comes out like a month and a half before that movie mandate, so whatever. Um
It's confused them even
yeah,
more.
she murders the hell out of a bunch of gremlins and she puts one in the microwave and it just
Remember
pops.
that?
She
Yeah.
stuffs one head
In a
first into a
blender.
blender. She
Yep.
stabs the shit out of another with a butcher knife.
Yep.
And they bleed, basically green slime, but it's Stripe gets hit by the sun at the end of the film and he just friggin' melts like the guys at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's disgusting. This cartoon show is for kids, but yeah, the gremlins do get splattered, and like one guy does get one of his fingers bitten off, and like he loses it, and the other gremlin like keeps holding it and taunting him with it. He's like got it in his mouth. He's like, it's like,
That's awesome.
you know.
That's awesome.
And some people definitely die. Like there's the big scene where the gremlins are wandering through the streets and you get a guy, running down the street, and he gets up and then a car just zooms across the screen and then the camera goes to someone else like, oh, that guy just died. He's definitely dead.
Oh
You know,
my.
so people do die, but in a child-friendly way, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure.
It's not gory. It doesn't dwell on death. It's not. I don't think it's going to make anyone cry. Um, might give some kids some nightmares, but in like not a traumatic way. Um, so I really appreciated it for that. Um, and the
How
other thing
is
I
it?
really go ahead.
How long is it?
10 episodes. Although they
And done?
no, they actually did a second season. Um, so 20 episodes in total, I think. I think there's 10 in each season. Um, and what the second thing I really liked about this show is it's the Gremlins actually take a while to show up. So I was kind of wondering what you
Oh,
do with the show. Like, do you establish characters for 5 or 6 episodes and then have the Gremlins show up, or do you have them show up immediately and just it just goes on forever? What happens is the premise of the first season is they're trying to get Gizmo back to the land of the Mogwai. And the show is pretty much their adventures on trying to get Gizmo home because they find out that it's dangerous to have a Mogwai in the real world, so to speak. But on their adventures, they run face first into just about every piece of Chinese mythology that you could hit. They get around the hopping vampires, they hit the undead, ghosts, dragons. It's clear that the makers of the show just dove headfirst into Chinese folklore and mythology and just had an absolute blast bringing everything in that they could think of. Because Sam Wing and his, the other, I forget her name, but the other protagonist, um, are facing off against all kinds of monsters and stuff. To the point where the Gremlins in a lot of the episodes are kind of taking a back seat. They're almost like the B story to their A story. Um, Also, it's one of oh, there's another thing. The main antagonist is a he's like a magician or wizard who you remember the Care Bears movie and that damn green face in the book that's just kind of horrifying,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
This guy reminded me of that. I think if I were like 8 years
Oh,
old or something when I watch this show, that guy would freak me the hell out because he like steals
uh,
people's souls, but he does it in a way where he does the Shang Tsung thing where he pulls the soul out of the person and gets it into a little ball, but then he eats it. But he eats it by like dislocating his entire jaw like a damn snake and stuffing it in. And it's done in like silhouette, but it's horrifying in a delightful way. And I'm like, that is going to give some kids nightmares, and I'm here for it.
ding.
Um, so yeah, I was really genuinely impressed with the show. I thought it was a lot of fun.
We were looking through, like, 'cause we're on the hunt for our next show,
Mhm.
and we watched a preview for it, and we were both like, that could be good. So we were thinking, possibly. And then, so do you learn more about so do you learn kind of more about what Mogwai, why Mogwai, how
Yes,
Mogwai?
there's a bit more lore. One of my favorite additions to the lore is more of a clarification on the 3 rules of the Mogwai.
Oh, don't get them wet because they smell bad now. How do I bathe?
Well, no, the 3 rules are don't get them wet, don't
Feed them after
no bright
midnight.
lights and keep them out of the sunlight, that'll kill them, and don't feed them after midnight. And it's always that third rule that, people have always made fun of because it doesn't make any damn sense. It's like like what about
Always after
time
midnight.
zones? Midnight where? And how long after midnight? An hour? Right?
Yeah.
It's always after the previous midnight. I
Yeah.
mean, Gremlins 2 had an extended sequence where they joke about that. What if you're on an airplane and you're passing a time zone right? Um, they clarify that it was just a bad translation. Like the original rule is something like they cannot eat while the full moon is directly overhead,
Oh, okay.
which is essentially midnight. So it's if there's, I think it's like if there's a full moon and the moon is directly overhead where you are at the time, they can't eat. So if they're eating directly underneath the light of a full moon, then they turn into gremlins. So I'm like,
Gotcha.
okay, that actually makes a bit more sense. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still magic, but whatever. I mean, that's like okay, that's something we can swing
I
with.
can work with that. I can work with that. All right, cool.
So yeah, uh, solid shit. Definitely keep in mind that it is aimed at an audience younger than us, but if you keep that in mind, I think you'll enjoy it. I did.
Oh, cool. Have you seen both seasons then?
Yes, I watched
Oh,
the
okay.
second season, which they call the first season's called Secrets of the Mogwai. The second one I think it's called The Wild Batch or something. Um,
Oh,
they basically so they go across the pond to San Francisco.
yeah, because they
So
got to get
first
over
season
to
takes place
America.
in China, and Sam and his friend, like the Gremlins, like get on a boat, and so they have to follow him to San Francisco.
Gotcha. Yeah, we got to make it to America for the movies to take place. I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
your
So,
turn.
when we were children, we were like the only two people that liked the movie Hudson Hawk.
Apparently so. I didn't even know that Hudson Hawk was so maligned until quite some time later. This, of course, was before the internet at large. I mean, there were message boards and shit, but yeah,
Uh, yeah, no, we really liked Hudson Hawk. It was great. And we saw it many times. And people just hated that movie. But I really liked it. And then last year I saw Argylle. And I think Argyle's like the new Hudson Hawk. I loved it so much. And
is Argyle your second?
yeah,
It's one of mine too. So I
is
guess
it
we
really?
can combine this one. So I'll tell my funny story after you're done talking about it. Yeah, Argyle was one of mine too.
It's just so Sam Rockwell, just first of all,
Yes.
he is just bananas awesome. I love him in everything. I think he is deserved of all the accolades that he did get, has received, and the ones that he hasn't yet and should, and all of that. Like he's just great. I wouldn't say he's underrated because everyone knows he's amazing. He I don't know, he's just great. Um, but the thing about Argyle that I found so fascinating is that it really actually was the story itself was fun. It was interesting. I was with it the whole time. There weren't moments like just I mean take all the rest of it out. Like take the fanciful stuff out. That's fine. We'll get to that in a moment. But like let's just talk about like the root like kind of capery story, right? The writer who needs to uh who goes on this mission with him, or he's a spy, and he's like, we need to get the next chapter of your book, and she's like, and then she turns out to actually be, some undercover agent. Like it's so cool. Like it really like the story is really neat, and like the capers they go on, and it's written really well, and it's it it takes chances and places, and you're like, but you're with it every time. It works within the rules that it has set for itself, and the leaps which it takes, you're like, all right, because the leaps that it takes, it has taken within the universe that it has already kind of like this really fanciful. Because who is the guy that she bases her novel on? The
The actor
Yeah,
Henry Cavill.
thank you. I'm like chiseled guy, the
Yeah.
guy who looks like a stone.
Yes.
Yes, he does. He looks like a rock. Not the rock, a
Who's
rock.
not in? Because the sidekick is um Jesus, I'm blanking on his name. Another wrestler. Uh, the guy who
John
plays
Cena.
Peacemaker.
John Cena.
John Cena, yeah.
Yes, who I love John Cena.
He's
Put him
genuinely
in
very funny.
everything.
Yeah.
I love him. He's great. He knows. his beats and he hits them every single time he hits them. And you know what? I don't care. Like when you know your character, you're allowed to get hired just for that character. Go for it, baby. Make it. Do it. You do it well. Um, and I like Bryce Dallas Howard. As a woman who is not a size zero, by the way, not a size zero, like I think that I'm so happy to see a person who fills out a pair of jeans and baby, she looked fucking fantastic in those pair of jeans. I don't want like jeans hanging. Like, I mean, she looked good in those jeans. I was like, I was like, I was really happy about that. Because yeah. So I just thought so as just like a fun capery movie, fun, great, love it, very entertaining. Then, but then you have all this other like romantical. Well, first off, there's a cat,
There's a
and
cat in
so
it.
there's a cat in it. So
That adds a couple points right there. Yeah,
elevate,
elevates.
elevate, elevate. There's a cat in it, and the cat lives.
There
Elevate,
you
elevate.
go.
You know, and just like the website, does the dog die? Like, is the cat okay? We should have that one. Um, but for those who haven't seen it, the action sequences in this movie are the most absurd in the best way. They're like, we're going to have an oil spill and we are going to ice skate on this oil spill. Yes, we are.
I
And
don't
we are
parts
going to
like that, and I don't care.
and we are going to slit people's throats with the ice skates. And she's going to do a triple axel and this. And you know what? You're going to love it. And you do. And it work because and it's and then there's the one with the fog,
The explodey colored smoke,
the
yeah, the
exploding
gunfight in the
colors,
hallway, yeah.
and it's visually appealing. But the thing that it is, it's like it's somehow they set it up that it all makes sense that it's happening. Again, it's written in a way that which is why I mentioned Hudson Hawk, because in Hudson Hawk, and I know this because we watched it so much, everything in Hudson Hawk, as fantastic as it is, they do timing by singing a song. The fact that he doesn't get his cup of coffee the whole dang time because it keeps getting shot out of his, bunny ball throwing out the window. Like everything, if you're watching, it is all set up from the beginning. And if you like, she talks about how she used to ice skate. They talk about all this. Like it's all there. So by the time she puts on her ice skates and starts pirouetting around this oil spill, you're like, "Ah, yeah, well, she was like this Olympic ice skater." So I mean, sure. I mean, they set that up, payoff. Like it's just and it's you and like and my cheek hurts because I'm just so happy. But like it's one of those movies that I don't get. And then I think it just also elevates that other people had such vitriol towards. Just like what's wrong with you people? People don't know good cinema. So you tell me what was like, because obviously since we'll share it, this was on your list then
Yeah.
too. So talk
So,
to me about
Argylle, I saw the trailer, the marketing for Argylle.
yes,
I think this movie came out like over the summer, maybe.
possibly yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
so
so.
so I saw the marketing leading up to the film's release. And even though it had a cat in it, I was like, not speaking to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't like, oh, that looks crap. No, I was just like, fine, I
Any
guess.
other capery movie,
Yeah,
whatever.
there was even though there was a cat in it, there was nothing about the movie was speaking to me. It did not inspire me to get in my car and go to the drive-in. So I was browsing around on social media, and I add that this was like the week after the movie had premiered in the theater. And someone on social media says, "Oh, kids, Argylle, this is the worst thing in cinema history." I'm like, unless this is the "Do you know what happens when a toad is struck by lightning" line from the X-Men movie, probably not. But I mean, this guy was just doing the worst thing ever. It destroyed my childhood somehow, and it killed my dog, and it's the worst thing ever. And I'm like, okay, this I have to see. And it was the oil
No,
slick
I'm
ice
interested.
skating scene from the film. And I watched it, I went, that's amazing. Now I want to see the movie. And I kind of went through the thread and I found, I think it was a different person who's like, yeah, and this scene's from the movie too. And it's so insulting. It's the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, okay. And it was the corridor gunfight with the exploding colorful smoke bombs. And I'm like, I need to see this movie this weekend. This looks like the most amazing. I mean, these may be the only good scenes from the movie, but if these scenes are in the movie, you know what? I think I'll be happy. And I went to the drive-in that weekend and I watched the movie and I loved the hell out of it. It even if there were no cat in the movie, I still would have liked the movie. I really genuinely enjoyed that film. All because someone was being a hateful dipstick, um, and probably performative about it. I mean,
Sure.
like many people on social media are wont to do. This is the worst thing ever. It destroyed my childhood somehow. It killed my dog. Um,
Well, and what's so interesting about that smoke scene, though, is that because they have the smoke scene that you, as the viewer, are watching, and Bryce and Sam Rockwell are like dancing and like, it's so beautiful. And then it goes to like the
the
CTV or like
security camera footage that
security
the
camera
other
footage,
bad guys are watching.
which is literally just a gunfight in a hallway.
Yeah, it's clear that what is being shown to us, the viewing audience, is they're communicating the emotions and the feelings of the characters. This is what it's like for them, Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell. But the movie is also clear, like this is not what's literally happening, even in the fiction of this film. What's literally happening is they're gunning down a bunch of people in a hallway under the cover of a lot of smoke, right? They
Right.
set off a bunch of smoke bombs and they're because again, you see it's like heat sensitive vision,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes. Yes.
Because they
Okay.
can't see
Yes.
because the whole hallway's filled with smoke. So they have infrared cameras or something. And you see these two just running around John Wicking their way down the hallway. But when it shows it from our character points of view, we get the colorful smoke and the choreographed dancing kind of stuff. And it's like that's what this means to them. That's the emotional experience that their characters are having that's being communicated to us, the viewing audience, which what a movie is supposed to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean,
But
if you
yeah.
don't enjoy that, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, if you bound like I actually saw someone on YouTube do like an hour-long review of Argylle. And this person did not like the movie at all. And
You
I
see,
watched him
you're
for
finding all
about
the people who hate it.
yeah, I watched him for about 25 minutes, just curious to see what his thoughts were. And I was like, are there different cuts of this film in the theater? Because you're just wrong, like factually incorrect about what happened, at least in the movie that I saw. And I'm like, I'm not sure what happened here. I'm not sure I don't recall seeing such a massive disconnect since a review I read of Freddy versus Jason over 20 years ago.
Oh.
Is Freddy versus Jason a good movie? No. Does it do what it needs to do? For me, yes. But I love Freddy versus Jason, but I read a review on some movie website back in the very early 2000s, and I remember I actually went to the premiere of the film in Vegas, um,
Jason?
to Freddy versus Jason. Yeah, and this was before they had the the very, very ending shot of the film in the film. So I had to go to the theater again
Oh,
when it came out to see the final shot. But
'cause I was
um,
gonna say, which one was the one that we went to with the big storm?
that was
And then,
Jason X. That was the Jason in space movie.
okay, got it.
Um, so I was reading this review for Freddy versus Jason, and I had the same reaction. I was reading the review, I'm like, okay, I mean, but that's not what happened in the movie, though. Did you somehow see a different cut? Did you Were you high in imagining the movie and you're
Are you
reviewing that?
sure
Or are
you
you
watched
reviewing a
Argyle?
hallucination, a dream? What? I had the same thing. I only watched like 25 minutes of this person's hour. I'm like, well, I mean,
Still,
I don't begrudge anyone their opinion, but you're just not describing what happened in the movie accurately is just weird to me.
that is weird.
Again, I'm
You
talking about him factually describing things that happened in the film, not how he felt about them. I'm okay with him not liking the movie. I'm okay with it just not working for him. Perfectly fine. But I'm like, yeah, that didn't happen in the movie. So what are you talking about? And it's like, well, this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, yes, it does. The character literally says in that same scene that XYZ or what. Unfortunately, I can't think of really any
for
examples
sure.
several months ago, and I don't care that much. But but I liked Argyle, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. It exceeded the expectations that I had set for it, and movies just don't do that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, not a ton of movies I can think of where I watched them. I was like, oh, that was even better than I was expecting.
I mean, like I saw
Usually, I have a
Wicked.
pretty good idea of how I'm gonna feel about a movie.
Yeah, like Wicked was phenomenal. I knew that it was gonna be. It was like this is not my next one. I'm just saying, like, I went in knowing that this was going to be an experience, and it was. And there are movies that you go in not knowing, and then you like it, and you're like, all right, but like Argyle, I went in expecting it's going to be maybe a cute, fun movie. Exceeded like
Yeah.
it doesn't happen often that you're like, which is why
They
like,
also
and
didn't
I
blow
think
everything in the marketing, so that's nice.
yeah, and and that's huge too. I will say about Argyle is that which the plus or and a minus though. I love that it didn't blow any of that in the marketing because for me, what a wonderful thing to experience because it really I hate now that like you have movies that I have not that I'm gonna speak out of my ass. Sorry about that, everyone. I have not seen The Wild Robot. So I could be completely incorrect. But having seen the preview, I believe I've seen The Wild Robot.
Yeah, yeah, the same thing. And I'm if you scroll through my social media, you'll find me talking about that because I posted
Really?
about because I watched the trailer for Wild Robot and I went on social media and went, I've seen the trailer for Wild Robot. It may not be the case, but I now feel I've seen the Wild Robot.
I feel like I liked it. But
It's the
like,
reason I didn't see Sing back when that came out nearly 10
yeah.
years ago now because I saw the marketing and went, I feel I've seen the entire movie now, and I have no reason to actually go see the movie.
Yeah, so like well done, Argyle.
Yeah,
You left a lot for us to experience. But at the same token, it didn't attract you.
that's a fair point. If they would have included the ice skating or the oil slick skating gunfight or the hallway gunfight with the colorful stuff, I would have been like, oh, now I need to see the movie. Yeah, yeah. I don't think they didn't tell me it wasn't that they didn't. spoil enough of the movie. They just didn't show the right things. They didn't lean into the right thing. It looked like a perfectly serviceable but generic by the numbers spy actiony film. I was like, oh, it's Sam Rockwell. I like Sam Rockwell. You know, oh, there's a cat in it. I like cats. But it didn't. The marketing it didn't serve the film. I don't think it's kind of like uh, Near Automata, a video game that came out several years back from Square Enix. I saw the marketing for that game. I went, well, that looks crap. But everyone was like, "Oh, this is such an amazing experience." I'm like, and then I saw it was like there was a demo. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so may as well check it out." Download the demo. Oh my God, this is amazing! And I bought it and I played it. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! Why didn't Square Enix like show any of the amazing stuff in this game?" Why did they
Yeah.
cut a trailer making it look so dull and boring and lifeless? Why would you do that? Because if you've only seen the trailer for Nier Automata, you think it's about the 2B, the gal in the black dress with the blindfold that's, the dress is slid up to her hip, right? And she's running around a dilapidated, very gray, ruined post-apocalyptic city and a very brown desert with lots of sand. And you're
Okay.
fighting a bunch of gray metal robots, and that's it. But there's also beauty and color in this game. The part of the city is overgrown by forest. There's an entire, the robots have their own little cool robot city. There's another group of robots that have taken over like a theme park that's really colorful. It has fireworks and music and there's like you get in a mech and fly around and shoot things at one point, and none of that is in the trailer. It's like a hot leggy gal in high cut dress runs around in the desert smacking robots with a sword. I'm like, okay, looks really
I
dull.
thought that that was all that you needed was
Yeah,
Leggy Gal.
they just showed the wrong things. Same thing with Argylle. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know if they were trying to they were afraid of the more outlandish elements, like if they showed the big poofs of colored smoke or the ice skating on an oil slick and shooting
Hmm.
people, or they just really wanted to save that stuff. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But I'm
Interesting.
glad someone was very angry about a scene in a movie because it led me to watching the movie and I really liked it. And I want to know how many people went into Wicked not knowing it was only part one.
Yeah, right. I do want to know that
I
because
don't know how many
that's
people walked out of part two. What the hell, man?
although
It wasn't called Wicked Part One. At least Kill Bill was called Kill Bill Part One or Chapter One or something. I went in knowing that was only one half.
oh, I will say probably the most egregiously pissed off theater that I've
Didn't they
had
do
for
the same
a
thing with Dune? I don't know how many people knew that Dune was only part one.
the Spider-Verse, the second
Oh,
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Second Spider-Verse movie.
When I brought the girls to that, because I brought my two girls and the neighbor girl Ninja, I knew I knew it was a cliffhanger. And I was like, and I was like feeling it. I'm like, we're nearing the end here. I hadn't seen it, like, obviously, but like, I knew because Spider-Man. And I'm like, okay, Kelly, they're gonna be really mad in a moment. Get ready, get ready, get ready. And it was like to be continued. The three of them just looked at, they were like, what? The whole theater. People were like, and I'm like, because I don't think that was, by the
And it's
way.
gonna be at least 3 years until the next one comes out.
Like we're like not that I'm against rewatching the other ones to wrap back up because I love them, but like kind of forgot where we ended.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember Hobie being hot, but other than that, no.
yeah.
So I had to call an audible on myself. Um, on my third and final choice. It is a TV series.
All right.
My first, and I will tell you what the first original choice was. Um, and it is a very, very apparent reason why I just am not going to discuss it. The Boys, season four.
because I haven't
Uh,
seen it yet.
you haven't seen it
Because
yet?
Boys season three was a pick from last year, wasn't
The Boys is incredible. It is an incredible show. If you don't like it, that is your opinion. The Boys season four, I watched it at the beginning of last year. It's awesome. The fact that you haven't seen it, I don't want to talk about it. The fact that it is after January 20th, I don't want to talk about it. So, we are instead going to talk about something that is almost equally as awesome TV show, Beef. Do you know
it?
Beef? Beef. It has Ali Wong and
Is that the
Stephen Yeun in
Randall
it.
Park one?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No,
No?
no.
No.
Randall Park, I don't think is in it. I don't know if he had
Am I thinking of a different show?
did Randall Park have anything to do with it? No. Ali Wong is in it and Stephen Yeun is in it. I don't know if Randall Park had anything to do with it. I do know who
Maybe
Randall
I'm
Park
thinking of a
is
different show. Okay.
because he and Ali Wong have done a lot of stuff together
Okay.
before, but I don't think he's in
Which
this
one's
one.
this one?
So this
Because I honestly
scenario,
don't remember who the other person in the show I'm thinking of is. So,
so this guy's the one from Walking Dead. He plays,
yeah, yeah, I
uh,
know who he
yeah.
is, but
Oh, he know me.
the
Okay, that's fine,
show.
fine. So, so Beef is quite literally like it's about everything, but it's and it's a one and done season. That's it. It's so I guess you'd call it a mini series now. Is that what they're called? I don't know. Um, I liked it a lot more than Jeremy did. It's like I still think about it. It resonates with me. It is the last, like down to the last frame of the final episode. It's like, oh my gosh. It's Ali Wong is like a rich um woman who like self-made woman and she runs like an interior design type of a thing and she's married to this kind of prissy guy who was an artist but she's very unsatisfied in life. She might have a whole bunch of money but she's very unsatisfied, right. So she privileged, lots of money, bored and unsatisfied. uh Steven, on the other hand, is poor, works a whole bunch of odd jobs. Cousin is in like jail because he's always stealing things or selling things illegally or, into just not always the best. Like lots of kind of shady sort of dealings and stuff. Like not bad, but like shady that, kind of trying to go good, but like sometimes has some shady dealings, right? Well, his cousin is kind of bad, but like he wants to be a good guy, but like being good doesn't get you anywhere in life. So sometimes he takes advantage. So he's struggles, right? Tries to be good, struggles. She cuts him off in a parking lot. He cuts her off in a parking lot. Doesn't even matter. And it's like the very first episode. Flips her off. They get angry at each other and they get in this beef, hence the name. And the entire show is about how these two people escalate this war with each other and how it affects their lives and the lives of the people that know them. And basically, it's about how they feel so much nothing in life that they pour. She has everything that, like, she has a kid, she has a marriage, she has this great business, but like she is so unsatisfied. She doesn't want anything because she's been told to be prim and proper and not have emotions. And like, like the way that, her culture has taught her to be is to just be, you know, very poised and very together. So she has all this pent up emotion and that she just pours it into this feud. And he has tried his whole life to make something of himself and he gets pushed down at every angle or every turn. And so he pours everything he has into this feud. And it's insane how far, like burning down houses, breaking up marriages, kidnapping daughters. Like, I'm talking, you watch this movie, it's not a movie. Um, this show puts you on edge. You're also like, oh my God, guys, calm down. People die, and you're like there's some death, and you're like, oh my God, it's just because he cut you off. It's just because he cut you off. Like, it's insanity. And then,
In the left
like at the
turn signal is right there,
for
conveniently
real,
on the steering column.
but at the end of it, like it really the denouement is like they find each other like they hate like they find each other long story short like in the wilderness dying basically because like they're shooting at each other and like they're broken
Holy
limbs.
shit. I actually kind of want to watch this now. Gee.
Yeah, and but like it's basically they feel so alone and like they feel like and they just kind of like open up to each other as they're both like we're gonna die here and they just open up to each other of like I've never been able, like, I never have felt like anyone has gotten me. And it's just, and it's kind of like a discussion on like, we feel so alone in this world that these two people had to pour themselves into the most unhealthy thing imaginable to find a connection, just to find a human, real connection with someone. They had to go through all of this when it's because we're so afraid to be vulnerable
That's really
that it's so much easier sometimes to be angry and it's so much easier to be mean or hostile or than to just be vulnerable or to understand someone or to let someone just to listen or to talk or to like and that's really what and like and it's just it's and like to like literally
how
to
long
the
is this?
very last frame and that like the very last like you watch and it goes something 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 thing darkness and I was like I mean I loved it.
Cool.
Jeremy liked it. I loved
How
it.
many episodes?
8 to 10. It's
How
not
long are the episodes? Are
an
they?
hour.
Wow, okay. That doesn't sound like something that could sustain that length, but okay, wow. I finally found the show I was thinking of.
Oh, the Randall Park one?
Yeah, it's Always Be My Maybe.
I've seen it. It's a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie, and I thought it came out recently, but no, it came out in 2019. But that's the Randall Park and Ali Wong. So you said Beef, and I thought Ali Wong. I'm like, is that the one with Randall Park? And it was, no, from 6 years ago, Andrew. No, does time have no meaning for you, old man?
Let's see. So Beef is from 2023. Not that means anything. It did win some Golden Globes. Episode guide. Episodes. Okay.
How many?
10 episodes.
10. All right.
There you go. So I highly like
What?
I mean
Where's it streaming? Do you know?
the Netflix methinks.
Okay.
Yeah, Netflix. So There you go. Yeah, I couldn't recommend it more. Like, I know that I said like this was an audible, but like it was a very, very easy and quick choice to go to it because it is just so phenomenal.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
yep. There you go.
All right. Well, my final top three of 2020 most impactful thing I watched in 2024. And actually, I had seven. It was a good year. I had seven on here that my short list was seven. I really had to narrow it down. And I really narrowed it down to the ones where I had a funny story and or something really specific that the show did that really I found affecting or meaningful or moving or something. So my last one is also a TV show, also a cartoon, and also not targeting me. So there is
Are you
a
having a midlife crisis, brother?
yeah, that's right. I'm watching, some people date women half their age or buy expensive sports cars. I watch children's cartoons to feel younger. It's a very healthy thing to do. It's actually probably a better thing to do than dating women half my age and buying
It's a
expensive sports
lot
cars, but
cheaper than the other
a
two
lot cheaper
alternatives,
too. Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
So there's a, show that aired on Max, I think, a little while ago. It's called Invincible Fight Girl. And this was another show that I had heard about and watched the marketing for and went, oh, okay, no thanks. You know, it's about a girl who is really into wrestling. The showy WWF uh, type of
Sure, sure.
wrestling, turnbuckle, flying elbow off the turnbuckles and that kind of a thing. Um, and it's a cartoon, it's energetic, and I saw the trailer. Looks fine, but it's not something I'm really interested in watching. And I was wandering around social media again, and I happened upon a post from one of the creators of the show that said, "Hey, our new show, Invincible Fight Girl, came out, and it we worked really hard on it, and it really meant a lot to us, and we're very, very proud of it, and we hope you love it." And I went, "Ah, okay, I'll check out the first episode, sure." Yeah. And so I watched the first episode, and it almost did not work for me. I was not into it for like it's a the episodes are like 22 minutes. It's a cartoon. It's regular length. For like the first 15 minutes I was not feeling it. And it's for a couple of reasons. One is there are some design choices in like the character design and the general aesthetic of the show that I don't really care for. It's not like poorly drawn or anything, but there's just a few design elements. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like the way that character's drawn. I don't like the way they animate that type of emotion. Um,
Right.
uh, and the other thing was the reason I don't like wrestling, um,
Sure.
because the storytelling in wrestling is bad. Uh, and part of the reason it's bad is because wrestling doesn't seem to the actual wrestling competition, the sport at the center of the soap opera that is wrestling, doesn't make any sense and seems to be made up as it goes along. And I can't get into the drama of the story if I can't figure out what the stakes are or how anything works, even in the reality in which this story is told. And this show kind of suffered from the same problem because it opens up with our protagonist, and her name is Andy, so that helps too. I'm like, all right, I have an in, and her parents bring her to a wrestling match. Um, and there because this exists in a world where there are two types of people: wrestlers and CPAs.
Okay.
You're either a wrestler or you're
Or you're
doing a
doing my
wrestler's
taxes.
taxes. That's it. So she comes from a family of accountants, and they take her to a wrestling match, and she just absolutely falls in love. She just stares there wide-eyed and slack-jawed, and oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. But of course, drama, I come from a family of accountants, and there we live on the Isle of Accountants, and I'm going to accountant school, and my parents would so
Ooh,
disappointed.
abacus. Look at this.
There's literally an abacus in this show. Um, but what got me is she's watching whatever the wrestler that she's fawning over is standing in the middle of the ring, and she defeats the person that's standing there. But oh, what's this? Two more people come in, and then it's like, wait, what? And everyone's like, oh, I'm like, but that's that's like not allowed, right? I mean, how could that possibly work within the rules of the
Rules.
or actually, I think it was a doubles match between two other people, and this other wrestler comes in and just beats them all up, and I'm like, she wins. I'm like, no, she doesn't. She gets arrested. How did no? How
Man.
does that? And it's not the point, but that it's one of the things that has always kept me at a distance from the storytelling of wrestling because I can't figure out what the titles are supposed to mean or what the rules are. Or it's like, oh, someone just came in and hit someone with a chair, so I guess they win. The
Right.
competition that they weren't actually a part of. Like if I go to the Olympics and someone puts a shot and I walk out on the field and I pick up the shot and drag it back 10 meters, like they don't win anymore. It came up short. Well, some asshole went on the field and moved my shot.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't have left.
You should have hit him with a folding chair. What's wrong with you? So what won me over about the show, however, pardon me, drinking
Not
did not
hearing
help that.
anything good.
What won me over about the show in its last 7 minutes or so is the show is just so earnest, so energetic, and so relentlessly positive that it won me over. Um, the drama between Andy and her parents. You know, she wants to be a wrestler, but they expect her to be an accountant. Um, like, is she going to like steal their money and run off into the night to find her calling? Is she going to be is one parent going to be for it and one going to be against it, and there's going to be that kind of a conflict? Is it going to be, any number of things we've seen in several similar situations and similar stories, but no, her parents are like, "Oh, we had no idea because you literally never told us and hid all of your fandom for wrestling." Like she built her own like little wrestling ring way out in the damn woods, so they had no idea. And it's a cartoon, it's for kids, everything is simplified. This wouldn't actually make sense in real life, but in the fiction of this storytelling, the parents weren't like oblivious. It's not like, well, you weren't paying attention to your daughter. No, she just didn't say anything and they didn't know. As soon as they found out, they supported her.
Oh.
They're like, this is what you want to do. We don't know anything about it because we're true blood accountants through and through. But if this is what you want to do, I've packed you a lunch, here's some money, here's a cell phone with minutes on it. Make sure you call us. And they are absolutely supportive. Not like they're not, and it's not like they're not in some way disappointed because they had dreams for their daughter and she's just got different dreams. And in a way, that's kind of disappointing because you've been building up towards this thing for the last 16 years, and it's like, oh, it's actually this over here. Well, that's a different thing. But it's just as valid. So it's not what I was expecting. It's kind of weird, but yeah, okay, cool, rah rah. And I'm like, that's great. So she goes to the Isle of Wrestlers, and the show's about her adventures. And she is an absolutely earnest, emotions on her sleeve, always wanting to do the right thing, always believing in the best of people and dragging the best out of everyone she meets by wrestling them into submission. She is she is Kazuma Kiryu in the Yakuza games. A game about a man who wanders around fixing every problem by punching it in the face. That's exactly what she does, just with wrestling. And it's wonderful. And then you get into episodes, I think it's a two-parter, like episode 7 and 8. 10 episode season that just kind of stops. So hopefully we'll get the next half at some point. I hope it did well enough because I'd like to see more. So there's this one of the, so she through the magic of wrestling, she helps she makes a friend and helps another kid who was born into a wrestling family, and he just really wants to be a journalist. But he's built like a fucking brick shit house. He's
Maybe
this
he wants to be a CPA.
yeah, he's 12 years old, but he's like the biggest barrel-chested, hugest 6 foot tall child with a tiny little baby voice. But he's like, I just want to be a journalist. And she wrestles his father or his or one of his brothers for his right to follow his dreams just like she did. It's that kind of thing. And of course, no one ever stays mad at each other. They through the power of wrestling, they find out it's like, maybe I should respect your dreams. I was vicariously living through you, and that kind of thing. I should that everyone is, you know people make mistakes, people are boneheaded, people got their heads stuck clean up their asses, but through the magic of wrestling, you can dislodge their heads from their asses and make them see the light, right? And that's just kind of wonderful to see. That's the kind of world I'd like to live in. And there's another story later in the season where there's this town where the guy and the gal who fought that she saw way back when she was a child, right? Um, they lost to this other lady who just kind of came in from nowhere and beat the shit out of everybody and won. I don't know how that works according to the rules, but whatever. But that really hurt this tag team duo, and a rift developed between them. And they're like, we got skunked by this person who ran in, so we got to figure out the best fighting that we can to beat her in the ring the next time. And one's like, it's going to take the power of the fist, and the other one's like, oh no, it's the power of the foot. And so they can't come they come to loggerheads over this, and they can't agree, and so they tear their family because this is a married couple, and they tear the family apart, and they create a foot gang and a fist gang, and they're constantly warring about which is the better wrestling style. And so they've got little minions who train in the art of the foot and others who train in the art of the fist, and they're constantly fighting. And the conflict is their daughter is caught in the middle, right? And so Andy, our protagonist for this show, is like, okay, what I need to do is get them together to see what they're doing to each other, to the town, to their daughter over this dumb shit that doesn't matter anymore. All this stupid shit, they're causing so much emotional and sometimes property damage over something that's just unimportant. And maybe through the power and magic of wrestling, we can see the light. So they manipulate events to get one to call out the other, but then they also go to the other and say, "Oh, this person called you out. Oh, this person called you out." And then they come and then they meet, and they're like, if we can just get them to talk, because they talk to I'm telling this poorly because I'm kind of remembering it as I tell it. So
I
they
get it.
go
I
to
get
each
it.
one to try and figure out what's going on, and they realize that they're both just completely wrong. They're both making wrong assumptions about the other. And if they just talked to each other, they'd say, oh shit, we had this wrong. So if we can just get these two out of their own isolated little bubbles and get them together, they'd realize that, what they're doing wrong, and we can, have the daughter and a big happy family again. So they do that, and it doesn't work.
Oh.
The mom and the dad are hopelessly focused on their own shit. They genuinely do not care.
Aw.
And the daughter leaves, leaves town because there's just nothing for her here. Her parents don't acknowledge her, will not pay attention to her, and are just content to keep fighting forever. She leaves. Andy is crushed, and she's like, "Oh God, I made it worse. I did the wrong thing. Um, I I I couldn't help. I thought that because in every previous episode, you know, I was able to just show people that, that this, that they're doing something wrong, and, appeal to people's better nature, but these two just didn't have it. They didn't care about their daughter. They cared about their own bullshit. And they genuinely, when shown what was true, that they were talking past each other, that they were incorrect, they didn't care. It did not matter to them. And the daughter just left, and Andy and her friends went home, failures. And that storyline, at least as of now, is not resolved.
Oh.
That's not the that's a two-parter. I think that's episodes 7 and 8. Episodes 9 and 10 are the finale of that season.
Okay.
And I would imagine if they do more, that's going to come back around. And I
Sure.
really hope that they stick the landing with that storyline. But I was not expecting something so real
Poignant.
and honest.
Yeah.
And not just a show that's, aimed at a much younger audience, but a show that had up till that point been so relentlessly positive, you know?
Right.
Um, it, but I really admired that, so that's why I picked it as so affecting, because the show was just, it's like some people just suck, and you just, all you can do is leave. You can't talk to them. You can't, there's just nothing you can do. And it's not
Yeah.
your fault. And this does suck, but you're just not going to reach them. And that sucks. It sucks for
That
everybody.
sucks.
Yeah, and it's depressing as shit, but I I really
Real.
admire I really admire the show for being that honest. Uh,
Yeah.
to
Huh.
having one storyline that was like, yeah, it's even in our little world, sometimes people just suck, and there's just nothing you can do about it, and people get hurt, and it sucks, man, but that's life sometimes. So,
Interesting.
cartoons,
And
man,
say that name of the show again.
we can sneak up on you. Invincible Fight Girl.
What a strange name as well.
Uh,
I've never even heard of it. Never, like, not even like a whisper of it. What is that on?
Max. Well,
Okay.
Adult Swim, but it also I think it aired on Adult Swim, uh, and then went to Max the next day. I think is what its schedule was. So
Sure.
yeah,
Got it. Interesting. Very. All right. Well, there you go. Well, I might have to let Jeremy know about the Mogwai and that because we saw that preview and we're like, oh, cute. And the fact that you started with that, we might have to give that a try. Yeah,
yep.
because again, it's a short little episode, so interesting.
So there you go. Each of our there was some crossover, but our top three most impactful things that we watched in 2024. We will keep watching things in 2025.
No, we're done. Done. Shut it off.
Never watch anything again? Okay. I have my list. Let's see. How much stuff have I watched? I've only watched 22 things.
Only. Hold on. I have to get my
I've been
memo
watching a
up.
lot of anime.
Well,
A
you know
lot
what's
of
really funny?
a lot of isekai anime. Yeah, you know, are you familiar with the term?
Isekai? No.
Isekai. It's the term that means it's the genre of anime, although it doesn't necessarily have to be anime, but it's the genre where a character somehow is transported from their world to another world and they live there. And it's usually like a fantasy world, like a, kind of Dungeons and Dragons-y type of a world. And that's been a very popular genre in the last several years. And I have to think, I have no idea if it's like there's if there's if Japan really has a ton of isekai anime, or if America's just importing all of it, because Americans are like, any world, any reality other than this one, man. Yeah, yeah. I'm really digging shows where people are just plucked out of their reality and
Take me
plopped
out of
into
this
another
one.
one. I
Yeah.
there's for some reason that's appealing to me right now. Can't imagine why.
So I've seen 11 things, but two of those things, stop it.
I've only watched four movies.
Two
The
of
rest
those things
of the series.
were series, and I've finished those series.
Oh, a fair amount of it was like the last couple of episodes of stuff that started airing at the end of last year, like the last two episodes of Creature Commandos, um, uh, the last
Oh,
three
I
episodes
need
of
to.
Star Wars Skeleton Crew. So
Did
there
I
were a couple
watch
like that.
Creature Commandos this year or last year? I think we watched all
Well,
of it
Creature
this year.
Commandos started airing, I think, in December and finished up in January,
I think we only watched the whole
or maybe
thing
the end of
this year,
November.
though.
But yeah.
But we watched all of Squid Game and we watched Bodkin. Uh, but we watched
What is
Creature
that?
Commandos.
What
What
is
was
Bodkin?
Bodkin is you know what's funny? So it's I think there's like 7 or 8 episodes, and it's about a podcaster who goes to Ireland to do a podcast about true crime, about like the disappearance of these three people on the Samhain festival, which is the Halloween festival that happened back in like 20 years ago or something strange. And of course, him going there to do it has Bill Hader, is it the comedian? But like he's not playing a comic role really. Um, uh, like him poking his nose into like the old town secrets and whatnot, like causes quite the stir. It's actually pretty cute. And it's produced by Michelle and Barack Obama. Like literally took us till the last episode or like the penultimate episode where we were like, "Oh, let's watch both of them."
Is it on Netflix? Because I think I heard that they had cut a deal with Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had no we were like, "What the?" We're like, "Does that say Barack Obama?" What the heck? But yeah, it's actually really it was good. It was good. But yeah, Squid Game too. You gotta watch it, brother.
I will eventually. Okay, so
I know.
let's end the video.
Yes,
Hey,
and then we'll
everyone.
chat.